Hello, War of the Visions fans. I'm Jackie Fox, and Grand Arena is back. Now, this is another 3v3 week, which makes me feel a certain way, but it is limited to everything MR and under, and I seriously think that there's very easy decision to be made here for who the two best characters in format are. One of them is Dario. This Dario in particular is, and this Dario team, which you've seen on the channel before because I've been using it to beat even UR Earth teams for several years now. This team doesn't necessarily do well into evasion at this moment, so it's been complicated doing this over the last year. But I remember at least when Ash and Mont came out, I could take on an Ash and Mont team with this team and still win. It was challenging, but you could do it. And one of the reasons is big earth resistance. Now, I have this set up for more magic, maybe, than earth resistance. I might be able to switch these two vision cards and get another, I don't know, like 2.5% out of it. But, yeah, pretty high earth resistance across the board. Helena is also going to be able to buff that into absurdity. It's going to make it very easy for Dario to just take 1 damage from earth-based attacks in general. But even if it weren't for all of that, I think that Dario is probably one of the strongest characters once you remove the MR units. For another reason, and, you know, most of the MR tanks are pretty good, but I think that Dario and Mont especially were arguably kind of broken when you remove all of the UR units. Mont, in particular, is maybe the strongest thing in the format, and also one of the things that's pulling Dario up. That doesn't seem like it makes sense, but for one, Mont is the only commander, so he's the person that almost every team is going to try to use as their commander. He has general benefits, so this is going to help everyone. Even if you're running like Ice, doesn't matter. However, keeping in mind, Dario benefits from his job-based ability, so he's going to be a decent commander to Dario himself. But also, Dario is going to do really well against the Earth teams that are trying to get full bonuses off of having the only commander. And there's a lot of them. I would say that so far, in the early morning of mock day, that I have encountered about a 30% chance of Earth team. And I'm talking mono Earth team. Now, I know the first team that I managed to find here is going to be the only mono Earth team that I haven't fought in this whole series. And you can see I haven't lost or even come close to it. I don't think I've lost a single unit in any matchup. And this is probably one of the most diverse. That being said, this is no one-trick pony. We don't just beat Earth. We beat Earth really dramatically consistently. We beat... Again, I think evasion can maybe deal with us, and we'll play with some evasion threats in this video. But really, I didn't start having trouble with evasion until you got, you know, into UR characters that were particularly good into this. Like, this team would do terrible into Riku, but luckily Riku isn't here. So, when you consider that everyone is going to be using Prince Mont in one way or another, Dario counters him well. Dario also is commanded pretty well by him as well. And you have a team like this. The vision cards here are going to be a little bit tricky, especially since for this team I am using 2 Dark Wind vision cards. In addition to More the Merrier's vision card, which is never really felt must-have. It was one of the last elemental vision cards that was released. So it's kind of been in this awkward space in its entire release. But it's pretty good if you want to stack Earth resistance on a wind team. And that's exactly what this team loves. I feel like if you wanted to move maybe away from fighting exclusively Earth, Helena might be one that you could switch a little bit easier. Now, I will also point out, look, we can beat a lot of teams here just from the value on our units. The fact that both Prince Mont and Dario are not only functional as tanks within this format, but also basically as DPSs. Wow. And there aren't really necessarily that many DPSs within the MR tier, mainly just newer ones. I mean, a lot of people have been updated to be able to do more things, and characters have gotten dramatically more interesting with their updates, to the point where a lot of these characters are a lot more balanced and more interesting than you might think they are. However, I would still argue that Dario can probably take most of them. I mean, he's a generalist tank, so he's good with spirit, he's good with defense, he's probably really I haven't tried this yet, but he's probably really awesome with the Veritas of the Light TMR. Yeah. And Helena, you know, for what it's worth, she supports him really well. I mean, earth, wind, resistance, and defense and spirit as well. So just taking the things he already does well and pumping them up. You're also, again, not very many DPSs here, and none too heavy either. So having a significant amount of defense and spirit actually means something in this format, where it usually doesn't. Dario's really good at that. And then we've got Sorel. So Sorel is actually one of the first MR units that was released as a free unit into this game. That was a part of this like regular release. There's always been like free MR units. They've trickled those out since the beginning of the game. But there was one rotation where they were all just a little bit stronger than the others, and we started getting one for like every element. I think Sorel was like either the first or the second. I don't remember. I think Renelle might have been the very first of those. Those characters, of the MR characters, that run is newer than the rest of them, and in some ways has advantages over them. They're more modernized in some ways. Now again, it's been years since any of these characters were released. I think the last one was Kamral. So there's been a lot of power creep in design since then, but also a lot of time that all of these characters have just been getting all sorts of different upgrades. Again, they're still being upgraded to... They're still doing a lot of the things that you would expect them to do. They just do a little bit more now. They're maybe a little bit more balanced against each other than you might have imagined. And yeah, it's just a really quite a tight and fun format. And I really look forward to seeing how indomitable this team can be. There are other characters within that run that I think are probably pretty good. I think McLeod maybe has a lot of room to deal with a win team like this. I think Kamral, again, being the newest one, being a courage remove unit, that's not a utility that you're going to see in the way that he has it and can give it to the whole team within this format. So he's going to be very crucial into that meta. And there are a number of good courage units here, and a lot of those really strong tanks like Mont and Dario are going to be using courage as well, so potentially. So there's a lot of targets for him to line up with. And even though Sorel is one of the first of this set, and I mean, she's a strider. It's a really solid job. I've always quite liked it. It's really good into penetrations. She has some of the best penetrations of any MR unit, at least last I checked. And she has quite an interesting kit, decent range, good luck, so pretty good accuracy as well. I just think that she's kind of, if you have Dario who can take any hit, you have Helena to heal and support, then you need somebody who is executing people on a turn-by-turn basis. And Sorel can do that. It's also worth pointing out that Sorel gets bonuses from Mont's commander abilities as well as Axe is one of the jobs that he works with. It's one of the most rare ones, but this means that Dario and Sorel are getting bonuses here. And with them being the 2 offensive unit here, the AP down, AP consumption down, pretty cool for making them stabilize and really giving them a good time into a bunch of other different teams, helps them AP fix. But they can also, I mean, just because Dario doesn't have that many buffs, I really like using Veritas of the Winds TMR, the Blade Stream, on him. And then for Helena, I think it's a really good place for Luciel's TMR. Hopefully you picked her up during the 5th anniversary or picked her up before then. Great character, as I've said before, but her TMR is an excellent accessory for a character like this. And it'll just give you another layer of they can't hurt Dario to the field because now he has man resistance. So choke on that. So this should be a fun grand arena. Wish me luck and best of luck to all of you as well. Thanks for watching. I know I haven't been releasing a lot of content lately. I'm not on strike like Ready Player Will. Is he still on strike? I don't know. Or any of that kind of stuff. I've just had the flu for a couple of weeks, and you know, with everything else going on, writing a book, like I'm doing a lot, and being sick has really put me out of a lot of it too. So I'm excited to just have a casual week of playing one of my favorite War of the Visions teams of all time against everybody. So cool. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Also, you can donate to the channel on Patreon or Ko-fi. Jackie Fox on either platform. Really appreciate it. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy Grand Arena this week. This one is a real throwback blast to the past. And, you know, it's also going to emphasize, I think, some of the other things that you might have. Like, since the growth in this format has not come from MR units, again, MR units haven't grown in a while, this could be a really interesting place to see how some MR characters are upgraded by super new TMRs, or things like that. You know, like how you can bring that tech into this. Like the Blood Sword is going to be amazing on Dario. It would also be amazing on Prince Mont if he weren't the only person who could fit into your commander slot, because either of those characters can do enough damage and take little enough damage that they're basically immortal while they're holding it. At least in this format where people are going to struggle to deal them consistent damage. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Grand Arena this week. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.